Hi everyone, it's Mr. Barbier back with another video. So today's lesson is probability, and let's get right into it, okay? So let's look at this definition. So probability is the study of chance. Probability tells you how likely it is that an event will happen. For instance, you may hear on the news that there is a 10% chance of rain tomorrow. From the report, you know that it is unlikely to rain tomorrow, but there is a small chance it might. Probability doesn't tell you what will happen, only the chance that an event will happen. Probability is often expressed as a percent from 0%, meaning the event cannot occur, to 100%, meaning the event is certain to occur. You can also express probability as a ratio, fraction, or decimal. For example, the chance of tossing a coin and getting heads can be expressed as a ratio, 1 out of 2, or 1:2, fraction, 1/2, decimal, 0.5, or percent, 50%. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to just focus on today's lesson in regards to the probability that something is either impossible, unlikely, equally likely, likely, or certain to occur. Basically, what I'm saying is this is all you're going to be doing today. It's going to be a very short lesson, okay? And as you can see here, this is entitled Theoretical Probability, all right? And you are going to very simply follow these directions. Theoretical probability describes how likely it is that an event will happen. Use the probability chart below to decide whether each event below is impossible, unlikely, equally likely, likely, or certain to happen. So notice what we're doing here is we're not looking at percentages. Instead, we're looking at fractions to represent probability. So if it's impossible to happen, it's a 0. If it's unlikely to happen, it's 1 out of 4, okay? Or as you know, 1/4 is 25%, but here we're looking at it in fraction form. If it's equally likely, meaning there's a 50-50 chance of it happening, 1/2, likely, 3/4, meaning greater than a half of a chance for it to happen is likely. And if it's 100% certain to happen, it is 1. So just to be clear, probability can be represented as we read earlier, as a fraction, as a percent. In this case, since we're looking at it in terms of fractions and not percentages, we're not saying 0 is impossible and 100% is, definitely possible or likely to happen, or certain, I should say, to happen. Here, we're looking at it as a range of 0 to 1, essentially, 0 to 1 instead of percentages, okay? So this is your homework, okay? Very, very simple, only 15 problems. You will write on the line. I'll give you a choice. You can either write, for example, look at this example, right? A 2-sided coin is flipped and lands on tails. If you flip a coin, what's the likelihood that it will land on tails? Well, it's a 50-50 chance. It's either going to land on tails or land on heads. So you could write either 1/2 on the line or write equally likely. You could write either or. Okay, I'm okay with either. Just be consistent. If you're going to stick with the fraction, then write the fraction. If you're going to write the words, then write the words. But don't change from fraction to words, okay? Just keep it consistent, okay? So these are your homework problems, but we're gonna look at some problems that I made, okay? That are very similar. So let's take a look at these. All right, so bear with me. All right, let's go. So probability practice, theoretical probability. Let's get right into it. The probability that you roll a die and get an even number. Now, some of you are thinking, wait, Mr. Barbie, isn't it called dice? What do you mean die? Well, what some people don't realize is that it's only called dice if it's more than one. If it's one, then it's called a die, D-I-E. I know that sounds weird, but that's the truth, okay? So one die or two dice, D-I-C-E. Roll a die and get an even number. What's the probability of you rolling a die and getting an even number? Well, let's think about what a die looks like, right? It's basically a cube with 6 faces, right? A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. Well, which of those numbers are even? 2, 4, and 6, right? Those are 3. Now, if it's 3 faces that are even out of 6 total, well, 3 is half of 6, so therefore the probability would be what? Okay, 1/2, or you could also write on the line equally likely. So I'm just going to say 1/2, okay, which is like a 50-50 chance, right? Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, pick a queen from a regular deck of cards. Well, a regular deck of cards, for those of you that are not aware, has 52 cards. Okay, not including the jokers. The jokers would make it 54, but we're not including jokers. We'll just say 52 cards without the jokers. So, how many queens are in a regular deck of cards? Well, if you think about it, it's only 4, right? Queen of hearts, a queen of spades, a queen of clubs, and a queen of diamonds. That's only 4 cards out of 52. So what's the likelihood that I'm going to pick a queen from a regular deck of cards? Okay, if you said unlikely, you are correct. So you can write here unlikely, or we can write the fraction, which is 1 out of 4. Okay, for unlikely. You can, either or is acceptable for this exercise. Okay, let's move on. Number 3, you will have meatloaf for dinner this year. Okay, so that question obviously is specific to you, right? If you're a meatloaf lover, then it might be likely, okay? 3/4, likely. If you are half and half with meatloaf, then you could put 1/2. If you don't eat meatloaf very often, maybe once in a blue moon, it'll be unlikely. But remember, if you might say, well, I never eat meatloaf. So can I put 0? Well, 0 is an answer if it's 100% impossible that it will ever happen. So mathematically, it's not likely that you should put 0, because it would be like, it would have to be a 100% impossibility for it to happen, for you to put 0. So like me, for example, I don't eat meatloaf a lot. I hardly ever eat meatloaf, but can I say I'll never eat it this year? No, I can't say that. So I'm going to put 1/4 for myself. Your answer may be different. Okay, so some of these answers will be different depending on you personally. Let's look at number 4. Picking a Y from the letters in your name. Again, this question is specific to you. If you have a Y in your name, okay, then that would be the answer would be 1, certain, right? If you don't have a Y in your name, like for example, I don't have a Y in my name at all, so for me, that's going to be a 0. Because it is impossible for me to pick a Y from my name, because I don't have a Y in my name. So that's simple. Number 5 says, pick a card that is red or black from a regular deck of cards. Okay, so if you think about it, all cards in a regular deck of cards are either red or black, right? They're either diamonds or hearts, which are red, or they're either clubs and spades, which are black. So since all cards in a deck of cards are red or black, the probability of choosing a red or black card is certain, 100% certain. So therefore, the answer would be 1 for certain, okay, 100%. And then finally, this last example, roll a die and get a number that is a factor of 10. Now you might say, Mr. Barbie, what do you mean by factor? Let's talk about that really quick. So a factor for example, is a number that multiplies to give you another number. If I take the number 10 and I make a factor tree, okay, I'm going to list all the numbers that multiply to give me 10. Well, start with the number 1, always. 1 times what is 10? 10, right? 2 times what is 10? 5, yes? What comes after 2? 3 comes after 10, after 2, but nothing times 3 gives me 10. After 3 is 4. Nothing times 4 gives me 10, and after 4 is 5, and 5 is already there. So these are all my factors of 10. Now here's the question. The question is, if I roll a die and get a number that is a factor of 10, what's the probability of that happening? Well, which of these numbers here are on one of the faces of a die, right? Well, I know 1 is on the face of a die, right? I know 2 is on the face of a die, and I know 5 is on the face of a die, okay? And these are 3 out of 6 faces of a die, correct? So 3 out of 6, that's 1/2. So therefore, the probability would be 1 out of 2. Okay? It's that simple. All right? Let me just say one thing. Don't get factor confused with multiple. Okay? Students get that confused all the time. A factor are numbers that multiply to give you a number. But if you ask me, Mr. Barbie, what are the multiples of 10? So I want to make that very clear really quick. Because you can get questions about multiples. Multiples of 10 are the numbers in the 10 times table. So for example, and we could all count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc., right? These are the multiples of 10, right? These are the factors of 10. So know the difference. Multiples are the numbers in the times table of that number. 40, 30, right? Factors are the numbers that multiply to give you a number. All right, so just make sure you have that straight. Okay, so now, as I said before, you are going to complete these 15 questions, and you have the option again of writing either the fraction on the line, okay? Let me be clear. You're writing either 0, 1/2, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, or 1 on the line, or you can write the words impossible, unlikely, equally likely, likely, or certain on the line. Remember, some of these questions are really personal to you, okay? So, like, for example, look at 13. Your birthday will fall on a Friday this year. Okay, only you know your birthday, so you would have to, look that up and see, will your birthday fall on Friday this year? If it does fall on Friday, then the answer would be 1, right? Because it's certain to happen. If it will definitely not fall on a Friday this year, then the answer would be 0. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Some of these, are not, like, look at number 15. Picking a vowel from the letters in your school's name. Well, ladies and gentlemen, CUNY Prep, if you think about it, only has 2 vowels, right? A U and an E. So that's 2 letters out of how many letters? Well, there's 4 letters in CUNY, there's 4 letters in Prep, that's 8. So 2 out of 8, right? You should know, I won't do that for you, but you should know which one of these answers that's going to be. All right, so try your best with the assignment. It's a very simple one. It's a short assignment, only 15 questions, and you'll be done 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. All right, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you in the next video.